The Sacrifice. Marcus Chen had always believed that Tuesday evenings were meant for quiet walks through Central Park. The autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves, and the setting sun painted everything in warm orange hues. He worked as a maintenance supervisor at a nearby office building, nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills and gave him enough time to enjoy simple pleasures like these peaceful strolls. That evening started like any other. Marcus walked along the familiar path, hands tucked deep in his jacket pockets, watching joggers pass by and couples sitting on benches. The park was slowly emptying as darkness approached, leaving only the dedicated runners and a few dog walkers scattered across the landscape. Then he heard the sound that would change everything. It started as a low humming, almost like the vibration of a massive electrical transformer. Marcus stopped walking and looked around, trying to locate the source. The humming grew louder, and suddenly the air above the tree line began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Other people in the park had noticed too. A jogger stopped mid-stride, pulling out earbuds and looking up. An elderly man walking his dog pointed at the sky with a shaking finger. The shimmer intensified, and then something impossible happened. A craft materialized out of thin air, roughly the size of a school bus but sleek and angular, with surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. It hovered silently about 50 feet above the ground, defying every law of physics Marcus understood. Panic erupted instantly. The jogger screamed and ran toward the park exit. The elderly man dropped his dog's leash and stumbled backward. Marcus found himself frozen, staring up at the impossible sight. His rational mind tried to process what he was seeing, searching for explanations that made sense. Maybe it was some kind of military prototype or an elaborate hoax using holograms and drones. The craft descended slowly, landing with surprising gentleness on the grass near a cluster of oak trees. For several long moments, nothing happened. Marcus realized he was holding his breath. The few remaining people in the immediate area had either fled or hidden behind trees and benches, watching from a distance. A section of the craft's hull simply vanished, creating an opening without any visible door or mechanism. Soft blue light spilled out from the interior. Marcus expected to see little green men or something from the movies, but what emerged defied his expectations entirely. The being that stepped out stood about 7 feet tall with an elegant, elongated frame. Its skin had a subtle, iridescent quality, shifting between pale blue and silver depending on how the light struck it. The creature wore what appeared to be a form-fitting garment that seemed to be made of the same light-bending material as the ship. Most striking were its eyes, large and luminous, filled with an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient. The being moved with fluid grace, but Marcus could sense something was wrong. Its movements seemed hurried, almost frantic. It kept looking back at the craft, then scanning the area as if searching for something or someone. Then Marcus saw why. 3 more figures emerged from the ship, but these were clearly different. They moved with predatory purpose, their postures aggressive and threatening. While they shared the same basic physiology as the first being, their garments were darker, more angular, and they carried devices that could only be weapons. The elegant curves of their equipment had been replaced with harsh edges and ominous glowing elements. The first being, clearly outnumbered, began to run. Its long legs carried it with surprising speed across the grass, heading in Marcus's general direction. The 3 pursuers followed immediately, their weapons raised and ready. That's when Marcus noticed the small figure clutched in the fleeing being's arms. It was a child, unmistakably young, despite its alien features. The little one had the same iridescent skin as the adult, but its eyes were even larger and filled with obvious terror. It clung to its protector with small arms, and Marcus could hear soft sounds that transcended species barriers, the universal sound of a frightened child. The pursuers were gaining ground. One of them raised its weapon, and Marcus saw energy begin to gather at its tip, crackling with lethal intent. The fleeing being stumbled slightly, and Marcus realized with horror that it had been injured. Dark fluid, presumably blood, stained one side of its elegant garment. Time seemed to slow as Marcus processed the scene. An adult protecting a child, running from armed attackers who clearly meant them harm. The specifics of species and planet didn't matter. This was a scenario as old as humanity itself, one that triggered something deep in Marcus's psyche. His body moved before his mind had fully decided. Marcus stepped out from behind the tree where he'd been unconsciously hiding and directly into the path of the pursuing aliens. He spread his arms wide, making himself as large and visible as possible. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice carrying across the quiet park. "Stop right there!" The effect was immediate and dramatic. All 4 aliens stopped running, clearly shocked by the sudden appearance of a human. The pursuers raised their weapons toward Marcus, energy crackling more intensely around the business ends. But Marcus had achieved his goal. The fleeing being with the child had gained precious seconds and distance. The lead pursuer said something in a language that sounded like musical chimes mixed with electronic static. Marcus didn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakably a demand for him to move aside. "I don't think so," Marcus said, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. His heart was hammering against his ribs, but his feet remained planted. "Whatever you want with them, you'll have to go through me first." The alien's large eyes narrowed, and it raised its weapon higher. Marcus could feel heat radiating from the device even at this distance. But he also noticed something else. The fleeing being had reached a group of dense bushes near the park's edge and was attempting to hide with the child. The pursuer spoke again, this time with obvious irritation. When Marcus still didn't move, the being made a gesture to its companions. They began to spread out, clearly intending to go around him. Marcus shifted position, continuing to block their path as much as possible. "You want them? Come and get them. But I'm not moving." What happened next shattered every assumption Marcus had about alien technology and their supposed superiority. Instead of simply stunning him or somehow immobilizing him, the lead pursuer holstered its energy weapon and drew what was unmistakably a blade. The weapon looked like no earthly knife Marcus had ever seen. It was longer than a typical dagger, but shorter than a sword, with a curved edge that seemed to shimmer with its own internal light. The handle was wrapped in the same dark material as the alien's clothing, and the entire weapon hummed with energy. Marcus stared at the blade in shock. "Seriously? You travel between stars and you're going to stab me?" But even as he spoke, understanding dawned. These weren't soldiers or police. They were hunters, trackers, or perhaps assassins. The energy weapons were for their primary targets. The blades were for anyone foolish enough to get in their way. Close, personal, and probably designed to send a message as much as to kill. The alien advanced with fluid motions, the blade held low and ready. Marcus had no combat training beyond a few self-defense classes he'd taken years ago, and he'd never faced someone with a weapon. But retreat wasn't an option. Behind him, somewhere in those bushes, a child was hiding in terror. The first strike came faster than Marcus expected. The alien moved with inhuman speed and precision, the blade slicing upward toward Marcus's chest. He managed to twist aside at the last second, feeling the weapon's edge slice through his jacket and shirt, leaving a shallow cut across his ribs. Pain flared hot and immediate, but adrenaline kept Marcus moving. He grabbed for the alien's weapon arm, managing to catch the creature's wrist with both hands. The alien was stronger than its elegant frame suggested, but Marcus had the advantage of desperation and leverage. They struggled for control of the blade, spinning in a deadly dance across the grass. The other 2 pursuers watched with what seemed like professional interest, apparently content to let their companion handle the interference alone. Marcus managed to ram his shoulder into the alien's midsection, driving them both to the ground. But as they fell, The creature twisted the blade, and Marcus felt it slide between his ribs with a wet, tearing sensation. Fire exploded through his chest, and he cried out involuntarily. The alien pulled the blade free and struck again, this time catching Marcus across the shoulder as he tried to roll away, then again across his back as he struggled to get to his feet. Each wound brought fresh agony, but also fresh determination. Every second he kept them busy was another second for the child to hide, to escape, or for help to arrive. Marcus grabbed a handful of dirt and leaves and flung it at the alien's face, buying himself a moment to scramble backward. The creature wiped at its eyes with obvious annoyance and advanced again, blade ready. The fourth strike caught Marcus across the forearm as he tried to block, slicing deep enough to expose bone. The fifth opened a gash across his thigh that nearly sent him to his knees. The sixth found his abdomen, and Marcus felt something vital tear inside him. By the seventh wound, Marcus was operating on pure stubbornness. Blood soaked his clothes and pooled beneath him on the grass. His vision kept going dark around the edges, and he could taste copper in his mouth. But he was still standing, still blocking their path, still buying time. The eighth strike should have killed him. The alien's blade found his chest again, sliding between ribs to pierce something that made his breathing turn shallow and ragged. Marcus dropped to his knees, one hand pressed against the wound, the other still raised in a futile gesture of defiance. The alien stepped back, apparently satisfied that the human was no longer a threat. It said something to its companions, and they began to move around Marcus's kneeling form, heading toward the bushes where their quarry had hidden. Marcus tried to speak, to call out one last warning, but only managed to cough up blood. His vision was fading fast, but he could still see the aliens advancing on the hiding place. He had failed. Despite everything, despite 8 knife wounds and more pain than he'd ever imagined possible, he had failed to save them. Darkness crept in from all sides, and Marcus Chen collapsed forward onto the grass of Central Park, his blood watering the autumn earth beneath him. His last conscious thought was a desperate hope that someone, somewhere, would find the child and keep them safe. The aliens searched the bushes thoroughly, but found nothing. The fleeing being and its young charge had vanished as completely as if they had never been there at all. After several minutes of fruitless hunting, the pursuers returned to their ship, frustrated and empty-handed. The craft lifted off as silently as it had arrived, its presence nothing more than a shimmer in the air, before it vanished entirely. Within minutes, the only evidence of the encounter was a pool of human blood slowly seeping into the ground, and a man who should have died, but somehow continued to breathe. Emergency responders found Marcus 40 minutes later, alerted by the elderly dog walker who had witnessed the entire impossible scene from behind a distant tree. The paramedics were baffled by the extent of his injuries and the fact that he was still alive. By all medical logic, he should have bled out on the grass. But humans, as the universe would soon learn, had a remarkable talent for surviving the impossible when something important was at stake. The warriors arrive. Marcus woke to the sound of machines beeping steadily around him and the antiseptic smell of a hospital. His body felt like it had been put through a meat grinder, but the fact that he could feel anything at all seemed like a miracle. Tubes and wires connected him to various monitors, and when he tried to sit up, sharp pain reminded him exactly why he was there. The memories came flooding back. The ship, the chase, the child. The blade sliding between his ribs 8 separate times. He should be dead. According to every law of medicine and human biology, there was no way he should have survived that much blood loss and tissue damage. Dr. Sarah Mitchell had been asking herself the same question for the past 3 days. She'd performed the emergency surgery that saved Marcus's life, working frantically to repair damage that should have been fatal. Every wound had missed vital organs by millimeters, as if whoever wielded the blade had been incredibly skilled or impossibly lucky. "You're awake," she said, entering the room with his chart in hand. "I have to admit, Mr. Chen, you've got everyone here scratching their heads. By all rights, you shouldn't have made it to the operating table." Marcus tried to speak, but managed only a croak. Dr. Mitchell handed him a cup of water with a straw, and he drank gratefully before trying again. "How long?" he managed. 3 days. You've been in and out of consciousness, mostly out. The police want to talk to you when you're feeling up to it. They have a lot of questions about what happened in the park." Marcus closed his eyes, wondering how he could possibly explain what he'd seen. Who would believe him? More importantly, what had happened to the child and its protector? Had they escaped? Were they safe? "There's something else," Dr. Mitchell continued, her voice taking on a puzzled tone. "We found something unusual in your blood work. Some kind of microscopic particles we can't identify. They seem to be concentrated around your wound sites, and honestly, they might be the reason you're still alive. They appear to be accelerating your healing process." Before Marcus could ask what that meant, a commotion in the hallway caught their attention. Voices were raised in what sounded like an argument, and Dr. Mitchell frowned as she moved toward the door. "I'm sorry, but visiting hours don't start until," she began, then stopped mid-sentence. 3 figures stood in the doorway, and Marcus's heart nearly stopped. They were clearly not human, despite their attempts at disguise. They wore what appeared to be expensive business suits, but the proportions were wrong. Too tall, too elegant, with an ethereal quality that no amount of human clothing could hide. The lead figure stepped forward, removing what Marcus realized was some kind of holographic disguise projector from its chest. The human appearance melted away like a mirage, revealing the same iridescent skin and luminous eyes he remembered from the park. But this wasn't one of the pursuers. This being carried itself with obvious authority and wore intricate ceremonial armor that seemed to be crafted from precious metals and energy itself. "Dr. Mitchell," the being said in perfect English, its voice carrying harmonic overtones that seemed to resonate in Marcus's bones. "Please forgive our intrusion. I am Commander Zethka of the Protectorate Guard. We need to speak with Marcus Chen immediately." Dr. Mitchell stood frozen, her mind clearly struggling to process what she was seeing. Marcus tried to sit up straighter, ignoring the pain that shot through his torso. "You're real," he whispered. "It really happened." Commander Zethka approached the bed, its large eyes studying Marcus with intense focus. "Indeed it did, Marcus Chen of Earth. And because of your actions, you have become something unprecedented in our long history." The other 2 beings flanked their commander, and Marcus could see they were warriors. Their armor was more practical than ceremonial, designed for combat rather than display. They moved with the fluid grace he remembered, but there was something different about their posture, respectful, almost deferential. "I don't understand," Marcus said. "What happened to them? The child and whoever was protecting them? Are they safe?" A sound escaped Commander Zethka that might have been laughter or amazement. "Safe? Marcus Chen, they are more than safe. Thanks to your sacrifice, they escaped completely. But that is not why we are here." Dr. Mitchell finally found her voice. "This is impossible. You can't be here. Aliens don't exist. This has to be some kind of hallucination or—" "Doctor," the commander said gently, "your colleague, Dr. Williams in the genetics lab, has been studying the particles in Mr. Chen's blood for the past day. I believe you will find he has made some rather interesting discoveries." As if summoned by the mention of his name, Dr. Williams burst into the room, tablet in hand, and excitement written across his face. "Sarah, you have to see this. The particles in his blood, they're not just accelerating healing, they're... He stopped, noticing the 3 tall figures in the room. "Oh, we have visitors." "Dr. Williams," Commander Zethka said, "please share your findings." Dr. Williams looked at his colleague, then back at the aliens, then at Marcus. "This is insane." but the particles in your blood are nanotechnology, incredibly advanced nanotechnology. They're repairing damage at the cellular level, optimizing your immune system, and enhancing your physical capabilities in ways I didn't think were possible. You mean he's been infected with something? Dr. Mitchell asked, alarm creeping into her voice. Not infected, Commander Zethka corrected. Honored. Marcus Chen, what Dr. Williams has discovered are called Valor Protocols. They are awarded by our society only to those who demonstrate the highest level of selfless courage in the protection of our people. Marcus stared at the alien commander. I don't understand. I just did what anyone would do. No. One of the other warriors spoke for the first time, its voice filled with something that sounded like awe. You did what no one has ever done. In our recorded history spanning over 10,000 of your Earth years, no member of an alien species has ever willingly sacrificed themselves for one of our children. Commander Zethka nodded solemnly. The being you saved was Healer Mithrain, one of our most valued medical researchers. But more importantly, the child was her daughter, Kessera. They were fleeing from a radical faction that opposes our peaceful contact protocols with developing species like humanity. The assassins you fought, the third warrior added, are part of a group that believes all alien contact should be prevented through violence if necessary. They would have killed the child simply to send a message of terror. Marcus felt the weight of that revelation settling over him. So what happens now? What are these Valor Protocols? Commander Zethka approached closer to the bed. The nanites in your system will continue to repair and enhance your body. You will heal faster, be stronger, live longer, and develop capabilities that will seem miraculous by human standards. But more than that, you have earned a place among our elite warrior class. I'm not a warrior, Marcus protested. I'm a maintenance supervisor. I fix air conditioning units and change light bulbs. You stood against 3 armed assassins to protect a child that wasn't even your species, the first warrior said. You endured 8 potentially fatal wounds without retreating. You are more of a warrior than many who bear the title. Dr. Mitchell finally managed to close her mouth and form words. This is all fascinating, but my patient needs rest and continued medical care. Whatever these nanites are doing, he's still recovering from severe trauma. Actually, Dr. Williams said, consulting his tablet, his recovery rate is extraordinary. Wounds that should take weeks to heal are showing signs of complete repair in just days. At this rate, he'll be fully healed within the week. Commander Zethka stepped back and gestured to its companions. We did not come merely to thank you, Marcus Chen, though our gratitude is beyond measure. We came to offer you a choice. What kind of choice? You may continue your life as it was, enhanced by the Valor Protocols, but otherwise unchanged. Or you may accept training and join our Protectorate Guard as humanity's first representative. There are other threats in the galaxy, other children and innocents who need protection. Marcus lay back against his pillows, mind reeling. You're asking me to become some kind of space cop? We are asking you to become what you already proved yourself to be, the commander replied. Someone who will stand between the helpless and those who would harm them, regardless of the cost to yourself. Before Marcus could respond, his room's television flickered to life without anyone touching the remote. The screen showed news footage from Central Park, specifically the area where the encounter had taken place. A reporter stood near the trees where Marcus had made his stand. Continue to baffle scientists. The unusual energy readings detected in Central Park 3 days ago coincide with the mysterious assault on local resident Marcus Chen. While Mr. Chen remains hospitalized, authorities have no explanation for the strange electromagnetic anomalies recorded by multiple monitoring stations throughout the city. The footage switched to show strange scorch marks on the grass and trees, clear evidence of energy weapon discharges. But more than that, it showed something that made Marcus's breath catch. Hundreds of people had gathered at the site, leaving flowers, notes, and other tributes. "The outpouring of support for Mr. Chen has been unprecedented," the reporter continued. "While details of the assault remain unclear, witness accounts describe him as heroically defending an unknown victim against multiple attackers. The identity of those he protected remains a mystery." Commander Zethka gestured, and the television turned off. "Your world is beginning to notice that something has changed. First contact protocols have been accelerated by several decades because of your actions. Humanity will soon learn they are not alone in the universe. And they'll need protectors," Marcus said slowly, understanding beginning to dawn. "Every species does when they take their first steps into the larger galaxy. There are wonderful civilizations out there, Marcus Chen, but there are also predators, conquerors, and those who see new species as either tools to be used or threats to be eliminated." Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a mantle. When he opened them again, his gaze was steady. "The child, Kesara, is she really safe?" "She is under the protection of our most elite guards. Because of you, she will grow up to continue her mother's work in peaceful contact protocols. Your sacrifice may have saved countless lives across multiple species." "Then I guess I don't really have a choice, do I?" Marcus said with a slight smile. "When do we start?" Commander Zethka's expression shifted to something that might have been a smile on an alien face. "We start now. Your real training begins as soon as you can stand without assistance. You have much to learn about the galaxy you have volunteered to help protect." As the alien warriors prepared to leave, Dr. Mitchell finally found her voice again. "Wait, what am I supposed to tell everyone? How do I explain any of this?" "You don't," the commander replied. "Official contact will be made through proper channels within the next few days. Until then, Marcus Chen is simply a man recovering from a heroic act. The truth will come soon enough." After they left, Marcus lay staring at the ceiling, processing everything that had just happened. Outside his window, he could hear the normal sounds of city life continuing, oblivious to the fact that everything had just changed forever. Dr. Williams sat down in the chair beside his bed, tablet clutched in his hands. "Marcus, those nanites in your system, they're not just healing you, they're rewriting your DNA, optimizing every system in your body. You're becoming something more than human." "I know," Marcus replied quietly. "The question is, what am I going to do with it?" But deep down, he already knew the answer. A child had needed protection, and he had provided it. Now an entire galaxy might need the same thing, and he found himself uniquely qualified to help. The maintenance supervisor from Earth was about to become humanity's first galactic protector. Guardian of two worlds. 6 months later, Marcus Chen stood on the observation deck of the Protectorate station orbiting Earth, watching the blue marble of his home planet slowly rotate below. The sight never got old, even though he'd seen it hundreds of times during his training. Today was special, though. Today, humanity would officially learn they weren't alone in the universe. The transformation in his body had been remarkable. The Valor protocols had not only healed his wounds without leaving scars, but had enhanced every aspect of his physical being. He was stronger, faster, and more resilient than any human had ever been. His reflexes operated at superhuman levels, and his senses could detect things no baseline human could perceive. Most importantly, his lifespan had been extended considerably, ensuring he could serve as humanity's guardian for centuries to come. But the physical changes were nothing compared to what he'd learned about the galaxy and his place in it. "Still nervous about today?" came a familiar voice behind him. Marcus turned to see Kesara approaching across the deck. The young alien had grown considerably during their time together, though she was still clearly a child. Her natural curiosity and intelligence had made her one of Marcus's closest friends during his training, and she had insisted on being present for humanity's first contact ceremony. "A little," Marcus admitted. "It's not every day your entire species learns the universe just got a lot bigger." Kesara moved to stand beside him at the observation window. "Mother says you shouldn't worry. She's studied your people extensively, and humans have always been remarkably adaptable. You'll handle this better than most species do." Healer Mithrain had indeed spent months studying humanity, preparing detailed psychological and sociological reports for the Protectorate Council. Her conclusions had been optimistic. Humans, she argued, possessed a unique combination of curiosity, resilience, and protective instinct that would serve them well in galactic society. "Your mother is brilliant," Marcus said, "but even brilliant people can be wrong sometimes." "She wasn't wrong about you," Kesara pointed out with the direct honesty that only children possessed. Marcus smiled at that. The relationship between him and the family he'd saved had evolved into something neither side had expected. Healer Mithrain had taken personal responsibility for his training in galactic protocols and alien psychology. Kesara had appointed herself his unofficial cultural guide, teaching him everything from proper diplomatic gestures to which foods would poison him. "Guardian Chen," came a formal announcement over the station's communication system. "Please report to the command center. First contact procedures will commence in 30 minutes. Marcus straightened his formal uniform, a unique design that combined human military elements with Protectorate ceremonial armor. It had been crafted specifically for this day, marking him as both human and member of the galactic community. "Time to go," he said to Kesara. "You'll do wonderfully," she assured him. "And if anyone gives you trouble, just remember what you taught me about standing up for what's right." Marcus had spent considerable time during his training sharing human philosophy and history with his young friend. Stories of people who had stood against overwhelming odds to protect others, from single individuals making moral stands to entire civilizations fighting for freedom. Kesara had been particularly fascinated by the concept of ordinary people becoming heroes when circumstances demanded it. The command center buzzed with activity as Marcus entered. Representatives from a dozen different species worked at various stations, coordinating the most significant first contact event in recent galactic history. Commander Zethka stood at the center of it all, directing operations with calm efficiency. "Ah, Guardian Chen," the commander said, using Marcus's new official title. "Are you ready to introduce your people to the galaxy?" "As ready as anyone can be for something like this," Marcus replied. Over the past months, he had come to deeply respect Commander Zethka. The alien warrior had personally overseen much of his combat training, pushing Marcus to master techniques that took advantage of his enhanced abilities. More than that, Zethka had shared the history and philosophy of the Protectorate, helping Marcus understand what it truly meant to be a guardian. The Protectorate wasn't a government or empire. It was an alliance of species dedicated to protecting developing civilizations from the various threats that lurked in the galaxy. Some dangers were natural, like solar flares or asteroid impacts. Others were artificial, created by aggressive species, criminal organizations, or radical factions like the one that had pursued Kesara and her mother. "The human governments have been prepared," Zethka continued. "President Martinez will be making the announcement simultaneously in 12 major languages. Our diplomatic teams are standing by to answer questions and begin formal contact procedures." Marcus nodded, then paused. "Commander, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why me? I mean, really, why me? You could have enhanced any human. Military personnel, scientists, diplomats, people actually trained for this kind of responsibility. Why choose a maintenance supervisor who happened to be in the right place at the right time?" Zethka was quiet for a moment, considering the question. "Do you know what the most valued trait is among Protectorate Guardians?" "Combat ability." Intelligence, leadership, moral courage, the commander replied. The willingness to do what is right even when it costs you everything. We have thousands of skilled warriors, brilliant scientists, and talented diplomats. But individuals with true moral courage are rare in any species. You could have tested people, found others with that trait. Perhaps. But testing moral courage in a laboratory tells us nothing about how someone will act when everything is at stake. You demonstrated your character in the most brutal way possible. When faced with a choice between your own safety and a stranger's child, you chose to suffer and potentially die rather than step aside. Zethka gestured toward the observation windows. That is why you stand here today as humanity's first guardian. Not because of what we made you, but because of who you already were. Before Marcus could respond, alert chimes sounded throughout the command center. Every display screen in the room activated, showing news feeds from Earth. President Martinez appeared at podiums across the globe, flanked by scientists, military officials, and religious leaders. My fellow humans, the president began. Today, I share with you the most significant announcement in our species' history. We are not alone in the universe. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. News anchors struggled to maintain composure as the president continued, explaining that peaceful contact had been established with an alliance of alien civilizations. Camera feeds showed crowds gathering in major cities, faces turned skyward as if expecting ships to suddenly appear. Furthermore, President Martinez continued, I am proud to announce that humanity already has a representative among the galactic community. Marcus Chen, a citizen of the United States, has earned a position of honor and responsibility that has never before been offered to a member of our species. The screen switched to show footage of Marcus in his Guardian uniform, standing beside Commander Zethka and other Protectorate officials. He looked calm and confident, though he remembered how nervous he'd been during that recording session. Guardian Chen will serve as our liaison and protector, ensuring that humanity's introduction to galactic society proceeds safely and peacefully. He has my full confidence and the support of every nation on Earth. The real-time reaction feeds from across the planet showed a mix of wonder, fear, excitement, and skepticism. Social media exploded with theories, questions, and demands for more information. Religious leaders debated the theological implications, while scientists calculated the technological ramifications. Phase 1 complete, announced the communications officer. All major news networks are carrying the story. Global internet traffic has increased by 400% in the last 5 minutes. Expected, Commander Zethka noted. Begin Phase 2. Open communication channels for questions from human governments. The next several hours passed in a blur of diplomatic protocols and information exchange. Marcus found himself fielding questions from world leaders explaining everything from protectorate structure to the threats that existed in the galaxy. His training proved invaluable as he navigated complex political waters while maintaining the delicate balance between honesty and reassurance. During a brief break in the communications, healer Mithrain approached him with a datapad in hand. The initial reaction analysis is quite positive, she reported. Panic levels are lower than projected, and acceptance rates are higher than expected. Your species is adapting to this revelation remarkably well. Humans are resilient, Marcus agreed. But this is just the beginning. The real test will be how we handle actual contact, trade negotiations, and cultural exchange. Indeed, which brings me to something I wanted to discuss with you. Mithrain's expression became more serious. There have been developments in the pursuit of the assassins who attacked us in your park. Marcus immediately gave her his full attention. The radical faction that had tried to kill Kesara had remained active, conducting similar attacks on other peaceful contact initiatives across the galaxy. We've traced them to a base in the Vega system, Mithrain continued. Intelligence suggests they're planning something significant, possibly targeting Earth directly now that first contact has been announced. What kind of target? Unknown, but their previous attacks have focused on symbolic destruction rather than military objectives. They want to create fear and chaos, to prove that peaceful contact always leads to violence and tragedy. Marcus felt familiar anger building in his chest. You're telling me they might attack my planet because I saved your daughter? I'm telling you that evil rarely gives up after a single defeat. Mithrain replied gently. But you're no longer a lone human facing 3 assassins in a park. You're a protectorate guardian with an entire fleet at your disposal. Commander Zethka approached, having overheard the conversation. Guardian Chen, we've received authorization for a preemptive strike against the Vega base. Your first official mission, should you choose to accept it. Marcus looked out at Earth, where billions of humans were just beginning to process the reality of alien life. Somewhere down there, people were probably scared, excited, curious, and hopeful all at once. They deserved to explore the galaxy without fear, to build relationships with alien species based on mutual respect and understanding. When do we leave? He asked. Immediately. We've assembled a strike team of our best guardians. You'll be leading the mission. Me? But I've only been training for 6 months. You'll have experienced guardians with you, Zethka assured him. But this mission requires someone who understands what's at stake for humanity. Someone who has already proven they'll fight to protect the innocent. Marcus took one last look at his home planet, then turned to face his new responsibilities. Let's go save the galaxy. As they prepared to depart, Kessara appeared at his side one final time. Be careful out there, Guardian Marcus. The galaxy is a better place with humans in it. The galaxy is a better place with brave people in it, Marcus corrected. Human or otherwise. The strike force departed within the hour, leaving Earth's solar system behind as they jumped to faster-than-light speeds. Marcus Chen, former maintenance supervisor, current guardian of the Protectorate, sat in the command chair of an alien warship and prepared to defend not just his own species, but the principle of peaceful coexistence itself. The boy who had once changed light bulbs was now carrying the light of hope to the stars, and he intended to make sure that light never went out. Behind him, Earth continued its slow rotation, its people taking their first tentative steps into a vast and wonderful universe full of friends they had yet to meet. The maintenance supervisor had kept his promise. He had protected the child, and in doing so, he had protected the future of 2 worlds and countless others yet to come. Some heroes wore capes and commanded armies. Others simply refused to step aside when evil demanded passage. Marcus Chen had chosen to stand firm, and the galaxy would never be the same.